Hope Channel, changing lives.
Once again, you're welcome to another episode of Teens Connect, the platform where young adults like ourselves express freely issues that bother us and issues that help our development and issues that you think and you cannot understand. We discuss all these issues here. I am your host, Kofi Ening. This show is co-hosted by Ella Brown. Can you say hello to our viewers?
Hello, everyone.
Brian Mensah, Akusha, our panelist, and today our specialist counselor. Some of you may know him. His name is Pastor Nana Nimako. He's also called Nanadino, but you don't mention it. All right, let's delve into what the show has for us today. We are starting with the magic box. Ella, what is in this magic box? For those of you who do not know, the magic box contains opinions of teenagers who are experiencing certain issues that are in society that parents may not know, and they are bothering them, things that they are involved in, things they see, things they hear. And so let's discuss them. Ella, over to you.
Okay, the first one says, I have a male friend. My friend says he's my +1. Is it true?
But if your friend says he's your +1, what has that got to do with that? So you hear your mind. Oh, wow. Brian, what do you think?
For me, I don't understand what you mean by +1.
Akusha, what does +1 mean?
Honestly, I really don't know, but it depends. He could be your very close friend, maybe your best friend, or maybe your +1 might also refer to your boyfriend. So in this case, it depends on how you relate to the person.
But you, if your friend says he's your +1, you now see your +1. When you think you see your +1, that Brian, what advice you out to this person?
First, to you, is the person your +1 or is it to your friend? Think about what benefits you and not what others think about you. That's
okay, so think about what benefits you and not what others think about you. Akusha?
Honestly, I really don't know what to tell you because there's really not much to say. Just that, like, if you think the person is your +1, that's fine. But if you don't, just let your friends know so that they don't continue to tease you about this thing.
Ella, what's your opinion?
It depends on the person's age.
Age?
Yes.
Are you going to sugar daddy or what?
Oh, no. If the person is maybe above 18 or something, that's okay. But I think this person is very young. The way the person
is acting childish.
Maybe Ella, you have to read that thing again. Maybe I'm not really getting it.
Okay.
Maybe you have to read it again.
Okay, please let me read it and show it to everyone. I have a male friend. My friends say he's my +1.
Please show it.
Is it true? Please, I'm come to show it to you. Okay.
Please, can we see? Hey, I have a male friend. My friend says my +1. And also my own Okay.
No, wait, according to... Please read it again.
I have a male friend. My friend says he's my +1. Is it true?
1 + 1 is 2. It's like I say 1 + 1. Anyways, you assess. You now think of yourself, is this good for me? If it's not good for you, then you have to subtract the 1 so it becomes 0. and then you are unattached. But please, we beg you there, tell your friends that if you know your +1, they should stop talking about it. And also, if it's your +1, then you have to look sharp and, as we discussed before, set boundaries and how do you go about this thing. Or Pastor Line.
I'm really struggling with this +1 thing. But from the bits and pieces I get here, I want to believe that it's really talking about, sometimes where somebody is referred to you as your boyfriend or your girlfriend. And this individual seems to have a problem with that.
Yes.
As in people saying that that individual is their +1 or something. And you see, one thing, especially one thing with our school system is that when they try to say things and you fight back, they say it more.
Yes.
Sometimes you just have to be diplomatic about it. But like you said, on a more serious note, but like you said, if that is what it is, and like Ella also is trying to project that this individual maybe not of age, all right, what do you stand to benefit? And what do you stand to lose? You do the pros and cons of this. If really it's your plus one, like you're saying, why do you need that at that time when your books are there and there are more time ahead where naturally some of these things start
you even
playing.
get plus 2.
You know, so I think that if it is just on the basis that she really does not like the way people would want to refer to an individual as his boyfriend or her girlfriend, then I think that if you want to really fight back on campus, the more they attach it to you. And so sometimes you may have to laugh over it. But if you think it's eating you up, there are more practical ways of approaching it, where probably you want to talk to your class teacher, or you want to talk to the teacher or the counselor of the school, so that the people who would usually want to call you or want to attach that individual to you that has become a bother, they are called and they are spoken to. And I think it would minimize it, and you have your peace of mind on campus or wherever you think it's becoming irritating when they refer to you as such.
Sister plus one, please, please take advice and also minimize the how do you call it?
And sometimes you see, I don't catch you, so but it could also mean that sometimes the level of attachment is also part. Going to the bush canteen, the two of you. Going to the library, the two of you. What else do you want us to say?
The two of you.
Yes, going to the dormitory, the two. Normally, the dormitory, you know, there are borderlines that you cannot cross.
Going to chapel.
So, the two of you. What else do you want us to call you, the two of you? You understand? So sometimes the level of attachment to. So if it's really a bother, then this individual should start detaching a
but
bit.
Pastor, maybe you enjoy the company, but you don't enjoy the plus one.
And maybe you are going beyond the borders of just being a company. Perhaps the two of you. Sometimes you end up not learning anything at all. You understand?
Yes.
And so before people can start
Pastor, I know I cannot learn anything. You learn more about each other.
So when people start labeling you as such, then it means they have what they have seen. So if it is that a bother to you, and you think there is nothing really, strings to what they are saying, then you should just laugh over them. But if it is to, then you really need to be careful and all of that.
Okay, Sister plus one, I hope you've listened and taken the advice. Ella, what is next?
Next,
Next plus 2.
I have a problem and I want the panelists to help me. I do not sleep early and it affects my productivity.
So you know the cause of what you're doing. I don't know where a person wants us to carry them to bed or sing lullabies. but I mean, what's your take? Brian, we have been known for saying that you sleep at 9, wake up at 4.
Oh, yes.
So tell the person, what are the secrets to doing that? Although we do not trust that you sleep at 9 and wake up at 4, because your mother has not verified, but you there, tell us your secrets. How do you do it?
But first, you must tell us the reason why you sleep late. Because you can't just sleep late for no reason. There has to be a reason. It can also be learning.
Oh yes.
It's true.
I know people who stay up till 12-1 just because they are learning.
Yeah, but then it means it's not affecting your productivity. If it's learning that you're doing, then it shouldn't affect your productivity. So maybe this one is phone or some listener course. I mean, you know that. Yes. So I mean, what should we have to tell the person? Akustia?
Well, I think the person should just try to sleep early, because if you don't, it's going to bother you. And even if you are doing something, try so that latest by 10, getting to 11 o'clock, you've gone to bed. Otherwise, the next morning, if you've learned everything that you've learned, you are going to be so tired and sleepy and you won't even know what to do. You will probably not even remember what you've learned, not even to think about going to write it. So you should try as much as possible to end whatever you are doing by at least 11 o'clock so that you can go and sleep.
You are taking us to some highly professor levels tips, but okay. So Pastor, what do you have to say? Pastor, okay, firstly, you yourself, what time do you sleep?
That's seriously putting me on the spot. Frankly speaking, I may not really have exact time that I sleep. You know, I do a lot of. Had it not been COVID, that sometimes now I go home a bit early. Sometimes I go home quite late because I have to do a lot of runs and travel outside Accra and all of that. And so I really do not have, like, I always sleep at 9:10 or I always sleep at 10:10. But I try as much as possible not to sleep too late in the night. Once a while I will be up maybe watching CNN, just trying to get abreast with
Pastor,
time.
so you watch any CNN and you don't watch any
no,
series?
at that time, at that time most of our news items on our local networks would have finished with their news, but CNN at that time, because of the time difference also, they would be airing some of their news and all of that once a while. But usually I think before 11 I would have slept. Okay. But it's very important, especially to all young people, that at least your 8-hour rest, you must have it before you wake up in the morning. So preferably by 9 you should be sleeping.
Like Brian.
So if it's affecting her productivity, even if it has to do with your academic work that is eating deep into the night, because productivity in the next morning would be a lot of things. Maybe you have some targets to meet, you have some other stuff to do, run around town and stuff like that, and you end up either not finishing them because of when you have woke up and all of that. You keep shifting and all of that, and so it will not, it's affecting your productivity. Then you know that when you're sleeping really, it's not a good time.
All right, thank you so much, Pastor. I think we've learned that. Please go to bed. Why? We need you alive, so please go to bed. We beg. Ella, what's the next thing?
Okay, there's a last one here, which says, "My parents do not know that I have had premarital sex."
Hey.
Wallahi.
I mean, this has a lot of implications, because at this age, I don't know the age of the person, but it's not a good thing. Pastor, okay, before I come to Pastor, Akosia.
Okay, well,
I haven't asked you a question, I already answered. What advice do you think the person should tell their parents? Because I don't know if they went in protected or unprotected, but they could have contracted some STDs and they seriously need to get tested. So what do you think? Should they tell their parents?
You have to tell your parents, first of all.
But their parents should be them.
Still, but if you get a disease, isn't it your parents you are going to anyway?
It's true.
And it's better to tell them now so that at least they'll get angry about it and get over it, than you go and get the disease and you come and tell them, "Mom, Daddy, I have a disease." And they'll be like, "Where did you get this disease from?" Before you bring everything up. And they'll be like, "So you kept it for this long and you're now telling me now that you have the disease." Some parents might even take it to the extra level and tell you that because you didn't tell me, take care of it yourself, since you are grown enough to be having premarital sex, not concerned about the diseases you can get from it. So I think it's advisable that they should tell their parents about it.
Okay, Brian, I'm sure you are not engaged in any such activities.
Hey, I can't dream of it.
But I mean, what advice do you have for this person? Obviously, it is imperative that they should stop, because it's not something that would lead to anything profitable. But what advice do you have to this person in such a situation? What should they do?
This is a very tough question. And the act too is very tough. Like, at this tender age, how can you just be engaging in sex? You can be addicted to it.
I see.
And can give you, like, if you have sex with somebody, you can be bonded with the person spiritually.
Pastor, please. Brian said something, spiritual bonding. How true is that?
It's true.
I see.
It's true. There are a lot to it, and I agree with that.
Okay, so Ella, so I'm sure you there, no. I trust that all of us here, we are not engaged in any such activity. But what should the person do? What should be the protocols? Should the person go and test, and if they don't have the disease, they should go and tell their parents? I mean, to test first so that they know how to approach their parents, or they should go and tell their parents first before they go and test for any STD. What should they do?
Okay. I think you should first get to someone you feel very comfortable with, if you're not so comfortable with your parents, and talk it over with the person. Perhaps the person might give you something very beneficial to your life, and afterwards you guys go and check. If there's nothing wrong, then you can see how best you put it to your parents. Or else, as Akosia said, if something happens in the future, maybe your parents wouldn't really love you that much anymore.
Oh, they'll still love you, but I mean,
they'll love you, but then there'll be this
friction barrier.
Thank you.
So you're trying to say thank you for the friction, the barrier. So, Pastor, what's our advice to this person?
So you see, in the first place, where is that thing coming from? Premarital sex. Call sin by its name.
Fornication.
Exactly. You see, premarital sex makes it look like one of the swag things around. you understand?
Yes.
So I just got involved in some no, that is fornication. And when we say fornication, it hits back at us more than premarital sex. And so like Ella rightly read, most of us are conjecturing, because there is some deficit in that story. Why? What is happening? Is it that this individual is feeling guilty of the act, or there have been some complications after the act, or of course the complication could have been that they have seen some signs on them, either they are pregnant or they have seen some changes in their private part and they think they have yes.
I mean, before you continue, I think we should also establish in place that all have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God.
Sure.
We are all not perfect. So when we are dealing with such cases, we should try not to be judgmental.
Yes.
In the sense that if we start judging the person, you never know. And for one reason or the other, God forbid, but you might find yourself in a similar situation or even worse. So when we are trying to address, can we like not tone down on our expression of calling it sin, but like tone down on our judgment on the person, but rather find ways to help the person. I don't know what.
Yes, I agree with that. I agree with that totally. But I was just building up.
Okay.
And so I was going to land into that anyway. But I will still want to progress, And so I'm just speculating what is pushing you to go tell your parent that you have had sex with somebody. There should be something that is prompting that. Because usually if girls and guys commit this act and there is nothing happening, as in something that is eating them up or scaring them away, why would they want to go and talk about it to their parents? I don't know how many young people would just do that. But mostly when there have been some complications after the act, then like you said, either you are speaking to somebody you can trust or you are speaking directly to your parents. And that's why I just pulling those strings, and tying it in the story so that we can address each of them like that. Of course, like you said, not with just this one, but being judgmental and drawing hasty conclusions are not really helping in our daily life with each other and our relationships. You understand? So that one, it is far from that. We are just addressing the act and the issue of you going to tell your parent. There must be something that is happening that is pushing you to do that. Otherwise, in as much as it is not good to engage in some of these things, and we need to try and abstain from all of these things. If it did happen and there is nothing happening to you, why would you just go and talk to your to your parents? And so there must be something, there must be an underlying factor, and mostly it has to do with guilt.
Yes.
And guilt, when they come, must be dealt with. Because for me, I always say that guilt is like cancer. If you don't treat it with urgency, it will kill you slowly. Guilt is something that you should not toy with. And so if you are a Christian young person, and it happens that unfortunately you find yourself doing this act, and you're feeling guilty about it, find somebody that you can confide in and talk to. It has happened as a pastor and as a counselor. There are times people have bumped into your office and people have come to you and they are weeping for committing some of these acts. You understand? And we have a way of trying to help them deal with the situation actually. And so if this young lady is watching us, then what I would want to say is that if there is some element of guilt, if there is some element of fear, or you think that there is signs of pregnancy, or you have contracted some infections that you find on you, then it is imperative that you find somebody to talk to. Parents, pastors, elders, people you can really trust, people who will not betray your trust. And I remember some time ago we had to deal with that kind of thing. Then they will help you come out of. So it would depend on how it is playing out after the act.
Okay. Pastor, in this case, we live in a world where sex has been hyped. And everyone goes like, oh, sex is enjoyable, you have to try it, peer pressure and all these things. So you, the girl, trying it with a guy and maybe didn't go well as expected. Maybe
that didn't go well.
No, maybe she expected to have this joyous something, but it didn't go as expected. Maybe that could be another case why she would want to tell the parents.
Yeah.
And in that case, what advice would you also give to her?
To her, as in going to tell?
Yes, like you, in the first place, why did you go? That's another question. But you see, as I said, it's been hyped, sex has been hyped, and she wanted to try it. She was trying to be adventurous.
Curious, yes, and adventurous.
And she went into it, and it didn't go as expected. So what advice will you give to her in that sense, and about going to tell her parents as well?
So like I said before, it was something you shouldn't have ventured in the first place. Unfortunately, you happen to have found yourself in it. You repent of it and you forsake. So I wish I didn't do this, but you cannot do anything about it. It has happened already. But this time around, you know the circumstances that led to what happened. You shy away from them. Okay. And we should be honest to ourselves. You see, anytime we are venturing on some of these things, the Spirit of God speaks to us. Sometimes when you are bathing, after the phone call to come over, when you are bathing, and when you are applying body creams, and when you are combing your hair, makeup, you knew where you were going, and you knew what was going to happen. Even in the circumstances where it happens, let's say for example, you didn't even thought of that, but in the house, conversation changes with time. So you are there, now you are talking about this subject. All of a sudden it starts changing. And it's going to a particular direction. You know it. Paul says in those instances, flee, don't run. Flee. Boom. And you are gone. It is not that Kwame is, I'm just using the name Kwame. Kwame is touching a queer. And instead of a queer to run, oh Kwame, I don't like that. When you touch my ear, the way it look at you, you must flee. You understand? So yes, it has happened, so that it does not happen again. And then in telling your parent, it would involve a lot of things. What is the level of relationship with you and your parent? What are the discussions you have been having about some of these things? Will prompt you how it's going to play out when you talk to them. There are some homes, kids are not really friends with both parents, so they wouldn't even know how to approach it in the first place. A lot of parents do not know their kids because they don't have time for them, and they are not their friends. And I can cite thousands of examples, you know, of instances where cases have come before us and we have realized that parents were really not friends with their kids. Otherwise, some of these things would have been asked them easily. Why would kids want to ask friends instead of them? You know, so the relationship with parents would also be an element in this, facilitating that. Or otherwise, you can talk to a big brother or a big sister, or you can talk to
an uncle,
but it must be somebody you can trust. There are some people, after this encounter, you go to them and you start telling them about all that happened, and they end up also having an affair with you.
Hey,
yes,
it happens. And that's why I'm saying that if we have too much time to be delving into some of these things, we can bring out a lot of examples. But speak to a professional. If you think you're okay to talk to your pastor, talk to your pastor. If you think it's an elderly person around that you want to talk to, and you can confide in them. And I'm laying emphasis on that. If you can confide in them, then go to them and speak to them, and then it will begin the process. Sometimes you may not even end up telling your parents at all, but you would have dealt with the situation.
Thank you so much. I'm sure you'd have enjoyed this magic box conversation from Sister Plus One to now. And stay tuned. You are going on a break. When you are back, we'll go into a topic that you are familiar with, but sometimes you don't know how to share it. The Sabbath. I believe as Adventists are on the Sabbath. Stay tuned and be blessed.
We want to defy our family's decision and get married or elope. I need advice. What should I do?
Please, what should I do?
How do I tell her I cheated on her months ago? I need help. What should I do?
Okay, so for me, the moment I read the story, the first thing that came to mind was, wow, knowledge is indeed power. Sometimes we go through situations because we have no knowledge of how to go about them.
If you come from a home like that, you are likely to accept anything the outsider would, direct at.
The fact that we had an interesting ceremony where a priest prayed and all of that doesn't mean that magically you have turned into something else.
If he finds his way to God, a Bible-believing church, and he goes and he wants to change, nothing is
he
impossible.
Giving his properties to charity and start a new life?
Why? Okay, I think this is another discussion that we will not end today, so we'll not even go into it.
Real Talk, showing this and every Wednesday at 8 p.m.
Let's pray.
We are praying together with you, and so send a praise report. What is it that the Lord has done for you?
What I will cry Yankopon Ashadie ne Yesu Christo Jidim.
I want Yankopon Femono, and Sabi Be Jumano. I cheat in Pano, didn't creme rade.
Sir,
at Yan and Impayad and say, the Betimia Ayano, Janjambia.
Not just a fee at the bone fit as a fee edino. Yankopon in the power pam. And yes, sir, or the Mazer fool, Nemo in the Pancasa pam.
I'm calling to pray for my family members who are outside the nation and those who are in the nation.
Let's pray. Showing this on every Friday at 6:30 p.m.
You're welcome back from the break. And as I said, we are going to discuss the Sabbath. I mean, it's a Seventh-day Adventist fundamental belief, our belief number 20. And in this discussion, we're going to talk more about the Sabbath, the biblical basis, and what you're supposed to do on the Sabbath, and what we're not supposed to do as teenagers. We're not going to bore you with all the facts and biblical stuff. No, we're going to be practical in as much as we know the biblical stuff. So I'll give it over to Akosia. Please read a summary on the Sabbath as a fundamental belief.
Okay, so basically it says, The gracious Creator, after the 6 days of creation, rested on the 7th day and instituted the Sabbath for all people as a memorial of creation. The fourth commandment of God's unchangeable law requires the observance of this 7-day Sabbath as a day of rest, worship, and ministry in harmony with the teaching and practice of Jesus, the Lord of the Sabbath. The Sabbath is a day of delightful communion with God and one another. It is a symbol of our redemption in Christ, a sign of our sanctification, a token of our allegiance, and a foretaste of our eternal future in God's kingdom. The Sabbath is God's perpetual sign of his eternal covenant between him and his people. Joyful observance of this holy time from evening to evening, sunset to sunset, is a celebration of God's creation and his redemptive acts.
All right, thank you so much. So, as we learned, the Sabbath is instituted by God. Brian, so what's your opinion on the Sabbath? Is it something that was made only for the Jews or is made for everyone?
It's made for everyone.
So, Pastor, please, can you tell us more about the Sabbath?
So, it is very important to note that the Sabbath is a sign between God and man. And it also goes to confirm that the Sabbath marks God's creatorship, as the supreme being who's created this world. And so if we read from Exodus chapter 20, verses 8 to 12, I think it will give us the entire picture to affirm what I have said. So Brian, you want to read that for us?
Exodus chapter 20, verse 12. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days shalt thou labor and do all thy work. But the 7th day is the Sabbath of the Lord thy God. In it thou shalt not do any work, thou nor thy son, nor thy daughter, thy manservant, nor thy maidservant, nor thy cattle, nor thy stranger that is within thy gates. For in 6 days the Lord made heaven and earth, the sea and all that in them is, and rested on the 7th day. Wherefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and hallowed it.
So you see, in that verse, we see all of those things playing in that. God is saying that if you honor that day, then you're telling the whole world that I am the creator of the universe. And it's a special day. It's the day of days. Because it says that on that day, he blessed it and sanctified it. So it cannot be just any other day. If you put like 7 glasses there, and you fill all of them with water, and then the 7th glass, you decide to add Milo, you decide to add sugar, and then milk to it. It's still the same water, isn't it?
No,
it would, because it would have changed. So there have been some additions to it, and so you will taste all of them. But when it comes to the 7th glass, you will finish the entire content of that 7th, and so that is what God has done with the 7th day, and that's why you see when it gets to Sabbath, sometimes we eat the best of food and we drink the best of drinks, like sobolu, and we wear our best clothes and we get to fellowship with each other and all of that. And so it's a very special day that God had made himself. And then we also find that in Romans chapter 4, 15 verse 4, you find that it says that all that was written for our learning, or an example to us. And so if we want to understand the dynamics of the Sabbath, there is one person that we can look up to, and that is Jesus Christ. So in Matthew chapter 5 verse 17, he talks about the fact that don't think that I have come to change anything about what the prophets have said and the law. I have not come to change any of them, but instead I have come to fulfill them. I've come to let you know what it is, how much it should be revered, respected, and how decorous we must be with this particular subject. And so Jesus himself sets the tone in Luke chapter 4 verse 16, where he himself, maybe Brian, you want to read that for us, because that's a very powerful text when it comes to discussing this subject. Luke chapter 4 verse 16.
Okay. Luke chapter 4, verse 16.
Yes.
Now read. And he came to Nazareth, where he had been brought up. And as his custom was, he went into the synagogue on the Sabbath day and stood up to read.
And so the key word here again is custom, as his manner was. And so it was something he would go and worship. So Jesus himself set an example for us to follow. Who else do we want to go and ask if we're in a dilemma, or if we are doubting? We cannot go to anyone but to Jesus. And so when we pick the Bible, we want to ask ourselves, what was Jesus's attitude towards this sensitive subject? And the Bible is telling us that it was his custom. It was not something he did occasionally, or something that when he feels to do, he would do. He would go to church every Saturday or every Sabbath to worship. And you know, it cuts across in the book of Acts, where we find the apostles also heeding to this same example. We can talk about somebody like Paul in Acts chapter 17 verse 2. Maybe we'll have to read that one too. And then we'll read a last text to establish which day is the Sabbath day. Yes, Acts 17 verse 2.
Acts chapter 17 verse 2. And Paul, as his manner was, went in unto them, and 3 Sabbath days reasoned with them out of the scriptures.
So when did Paul go to the church or the temple to reason out of the scriptures with the
Sabbath
people?
day.
It was a Sabbath day. So Paul, and we have several, if you read Acts chapter 13, Acts chapter 16, you find the others doing virtually the same thing. And so it is important to note that those who were close to Jesus, they also continued in his footsteps. And so we have no option than to follow in his footsteps. And the final bite on this will be looking at the book of Luke, you know, from chapter 23 into chapter 24. So maybe Brian will go and then read just bits of them, and then maybe we'll round up with that. Luke chapter 23.
Sorry.
Let's go to, let's say, verse 55 or so.
Okay. Luke chapter 23, verse 55.
Yes.
And the woman also which came with them from Galilee.
Can we go up a bit? Let's go up a bit. Let's say like
53.
53, yes.
And he took it down and wrapped it in linen and laid it in a...
So that is when they brought Jesus' body from the cross. That Friday afternoon, you know. Yes, continue.
And laid it in a sepulchre which was hewn in stone, wherein never man before was laid. And that day was the preparation, and the Sabbath drew on.
And he calls that day, which this whole world calls Easter Friday, you know, with regards to the death of Christ. The Bible calls that day the preparation day, and says that the next day was up and coming, and calls that day what? The Sabbath day. Maybe you want to take it again and read the entire thing.
Okay. And the woman also which came with him from Galilee followed after, and beheld the sepulchre and how his body was laid. And they returned and prepared spices and ointments, and rested the Sabbath day according to the commandment.
You see, they were coming to, you know, prepare Jesus' body, embalm him, or do those stuff that they used, you know, traditionally they would usually do. But when they were coming, they realized that no, the Sabbath had arrived, and so the Bible said they couldn't do those things that they had to do because of what? The commandment to keep the Sabbath holy. They wouldn't, because they saw in their master adhering to the dictates of the Sabbath, and so naturally they would not want to do anything untoward, and so they would not touch Jesus' body until the Sabbath would be over. So let's continue.
Verse 24,
verse 1 and 2.
Okay. Now upon the first day of the week, very early in the morning, they came unto the sepulchre, bringing the spices which they had prepared, and setting others with them.
So you see, now what they were supposed to have done the Saturday, they couldn't. I mean, the Friday evening, when the Sabbath was drawing nigh, they couldn't. And now they have rested according to the commandment. But on the first day, so which means that the Sabbath is between the preparation day, which is Friday, and the first day, which is Sunday. So the one in the middle, which happens to be the Saturday, which we call the seventh day, is the Sabbath, and that is undisputable. It's logic, simple comprehension, and you get that.
Okay.
And so now the women have come to prepare Jesus's body, but fortunately, I will use the word fortunately. When they came, Jesus had risen, and the women were told so. So they went back to tell the disciples, and the story continued and continued.
Right.
So the Sabbath, right from creation up until this time. And the interesting thing?
What?
One day, when we go to heaven,
we'll enjoy the Sabbath.
We'll still worship on the Sabbath.
Amen.
Maybe you want us to read that, don't you?
Yes.
Isaiah chapter 66.
Okay.
Verse 23.
Isaiah chapter 66. Verse 22. For as the new heavens and the new earth which I will make shall remain before me, saith the Lord, so shall your seed and your name remain.
Do you understand that text? It means that one day, if God's will, we get to heaven, and I see I still call you Kofi.
Amen.
Yeah, that's the meaning of that text too there. Yes. So it will be a beautiful to continue with that. Maybe we'll get to know the Sabbath thing.
And it shall come to pass that from one new moon to another, and from one Sabbath to another, shall all flesh come to worship before me, saith the Lord.
That's amazing. So now we've established the biblical basis from the Sabbath. And I'm sure from our viewers, you notice that everything that we said, we quoted from Scripture to give biblical backing from whatever we say. Now, the questions we have to do are with the observance of the Sabbath. So, Pastor, my first question is that, how exactly should we observe the Sabbath? Does that mean that on the Sabbath you don't touch your phone? On the Sabbath you only read your Bible? What does it mean? How does God want us to observe the Sabbath in these modern days?
So Isaiah 58,
verses
13 and 14, I guess. And then we'll draw onto how we could apply that in this our time. Isaiah chapter 58. 13 and 14, I guess.
Isaiah chapter 58, verse 13 and 14. And I read, If thou turn away thy foot from the Sabbath, from doing thy pleasure on my holy day, and call the Sabbath a delight, the holy of the Lord honorable, and shalt honor him, not doing thine own ways, nor following thine own pleasure, nor speaking thine own words, then shalt thou delight thyself in the Lord, and I will cause thee to ride upon the high places of the earth, and feed thee with the heritage of Jacob thy father.
And so the Lord himself is telling us how to observe the Sabbath. That should be the premise, that on the Sabbath we should not do what is our pleasure, what pleases us. We must do that which pleases God. And so, in effect, what he's trying to say is that on the Sabbath, anything that draws our minds to God, anything that exalts God as the creator of the universe, those are the things that we should do. And so I would, like you said, I would not say you cannot touch your phone. But if you touch your phone, how are you using that phone to please God and not please yourself? If you switch on your TV, how are you using that to please God and not to please yourself? And on and on and on. And so the bottom line is that whatever you do must be to be pleasing God. And if you do that, what you're telling everybody around you is that he is a creator of the universe. And it comes with a blessing that he will cause us to ride
on the high hills
and bless us with the heritage of Jacob, our father. So it is not just, and that's why it's a blessed day, comes with lots of blessings and all of that. And there's this text, Isaiah chapter 42, verse 21. Very interesting text when it comes to, the Sabbath thing. Maybe Brian will read that and then Kofi would continue from there.
Pastor, when he's done, I would want to add something to what you just said.
Sure.
Isaiah chapter
42, verse 21.
Okay. The Lord is well pleased for his righteousness' sake.
So God is talking about somebody. And he said, and you know, one of the persons or writers that spoke extensively about Jesus is Isaiah. Isaiah is talking about Jesus, and it says, the Lord is pleased with his righteousness. And I'll continue, Brian.
He will magnify the law and make it honorable.
Did you hear that? He says, Jesus will magnify the law and make the law honorable. So when Jesus came to this world, he never downplayed the I don't know which word to use, but I just want to say that when Jesus came into this world, he upheld the Sabbath. He never downplayed it at all. He revered it.
All right. Ella has something to say.
Okay. To add on to this, Ellen White in Councils of Health, chapter 213, page 491, says, everything that can be possible be done on the 6 days which God has given to you should be done. You should not rob God of 1 hour of holy time. Great blessings are promised to those who place a high estimate upon the Sabbath and realize the obligations resting upon them in regard to its observance.
Amen.
Amen.
It's good. So you see, the Sabbath preparation starts right from the first day. You know that you have a holy convocation with God, a holy appointment. So you see, our earthly kings, we revere them, isn't it? And we need to give them respect. So for example, Ella, you are there and you have a call, and after interrogating, you know the call is coming from the Jubilee House.
Wow.
And you on one of the days you are to have an appointment with His Excellency, the President of Ghana.
So
I am sure you'll be feverishly preparing for that encounter with him. Probably you dash to the shop or the boutique to get one shirt, one dress or something. You know, try to see if it's an old shoe, polish it, make it nice, iron, and you want to do. But now you have an appointment with the Creator of the universe, one who is way high above any of the earthly kings and the presidents that we have. We cannot say that we'll do it anyhow. You understand me? And so we must make, adequate preparations. And then when the Sabbath comes, we appear before him and we worship him in the beauty of holiness.
All right. Thank you so much. I'm sure you've all learned a lot on keeping the Sabbath and observing it and its biblical foundations. Stay tuned. When we are back, we are coming to talk about a whole new interesting segment, and you wouldn't want to miss it. Stay tuned. You're welcome from the break. Today you bear with me that we've had a very packed schedule, and so we do not have time for the talents. But don't worry, the number for the talents is still 055 968 0066. I repeat, 055 968 0066. You can send your talent in, and who knows, next week you would be the one featuring. Today, once again, we have Dr. Maurice Mensah, who is coming to address us on a few healthy living tips as we go into the week, so that we would learn more and apply these in our lives. Doc, please, what do you have for us?
Thank you very much. It's very short, but it's quite detailed. So we would just like to brush upon, brush you, have little knowledge about how to go about some of our lifestyles. We have a lot of things we have been doing, which come up deranging our system on our way, ignorantly. So I want to talk about cleanliness. It's very important as youth as we are. We need to cling to cleanliness. Body cleanliness, pubic hairs, cutting them regularly, making sure we bathe regularly. So this time we have, most of us, we don't like regular bathing. Is that not true?
Okay, please, why put your spot like that?
And then most importantly, bowel movement.
Bowel.
Highly significant.
Bowel.
Daily bowel movement.
This was what?
To visit the loo regularly, or the washroom or the White House regularly.
So that's bowel movement.
Yes, at least twice a day.
Hey.
Yes.
Twice a day.
At least twice a day.
Wow.
Some of us don't do it in
Mornings and
weeks.
evenings. Yeah, some of you guys in
Don't do it
days.
in weeks. I know someone in school, she doesn't do it in weeks.
Hey.
That's because of
That's so
Atunku.
bad a lifestyle to adapt, you know. It's very good for us to be visiting the loo regularly, you know, mornings and evenings. Very, very important. Look at the number of food you take or you eat during the day and calculate the one that has to come out. So when you're keeping them in your intestines, years ahead, it can give you a lot of disorders, you know, people suffering from colon cancers and all that. Most of them are due to, you know, keeping fecal matter in the system. So you really need to be bringing them out. Yeah, daily bowel movements. And toothbrushing, very important.
Yeah, address this. Someone said you don't brush your teeth until Sabbath morning.
And that's bad, you know. You really need to be doing that. And then our clothing, our physical appearance.
You shouldn't wear tight clothes.
You shouldn't be wearing tighter clothes. That's very bad. So the ladies who have been wearing corsets, because, you know, and all those things, it doesn't help the system. Especially our ladies, you know, our young ladies who wear the corsets and all that, you know. It places pressure and so much burden on your abdominal organs, and that is so bad. You rather eat into building a healthy body and a healthy shape than eating just anyhow, living anyhow, and then you want to put pressure on your system and then, you know, to do that. It's bad. And then our environment as a whole, where you sleep, where you live, where you stay, we need to make sure we keep the surrounding very clean. You know, we need not to be burning certain things to intoxicate the air, you know, to cause contamination or air pollution and all that, water pollution. We need to check out and look through all those things and make sure we also do our best.
Rooms.
Our rooms are also very important, you know. Keep them clean. Our kitchen. Most of the times we eat in the evening and we don't want to wash the bowls. We want to keep them for the next morning. It doesn't help. Enzymatic reactions might take place and it wouldn't help us, you know. It comes along with a lot of disorders as syndrome. Are you okay? Yes, so it's important. And then we need to exercise as youth. And then beyond that, we really need to rest. Most of you are not resting. Whenever you steal your time from resting, it means your longevity is being reduced.
Please, can you break down longevity? Means if you still sleep time, you die early. That's what it says.
That is great.
You die. Like,
perfect.
Yes.
What are supposed to be?
You're killing yourself slowly and gradually. So it's important you don't rob yourself the amount of time it needs to rest. It's also highly important. So let us cling to those. So these are the little things I want us to.
Does anyone have any questions for Doc?
Okay. Yes. Oh, okay, Akosia, take it first.
Okay, so Doc, you were talking about our clothing, and in relation to that, how many times is it advisable to change during the day? Because you can sweat into a clothes, you've not taken your bath yet, but you've sweat into the clothes. So how many times is it advisable to change during the day?
You should bear in mind that you wash. So
after bathing, wear new clothes.
So those are them that don't bath for
bathing.
2 days.
Yes. No, you need to learn to bathe twice. So in the morning after bathing, there should be a new cloth on you. Evening after bathing, there should be a new cloth on you.
New down.
Yes, of course.
So it means that every time I wear my trousers, I have to wash them.
And then your undies, most importantly.
Okay, as for the underwear, we agree that that one there you have to change it. But I mean, my trousers, if I bath, I have to go and wash it.
No, you putting on new one doesn't mean you should go and wash it. Yeah, some of the trousers probably during the day you didn't engage yourself in any kind of dirty activity or whatever, you know. So it's still somehow clean. But your undies are very important. Your glets, your boxer shorts, the ladies, your singlets.
Okay.
Yeah, boxer shorts, your brassiers, the ladies, their undies, also very important.
Yeah, corsets.
And no, corsets should be out, you know. And then when, as adolescents, they experience their when they're experiencing their menstrual flow, that is when they need to be extra neat. You can bathe 4 times even within the day. Yes, if you get the opportunity to do that, make sure there's much water, flowing over your body. It really helps. Yeah.
Ella, you had a question.
Yes, I have 2 questions.
But why question? Everyone asking one. You pet 2.
No, I'm asking on behalf of the viewers.
Did they tell you that you should ask? You dear. Go.
The first one, I want to ask if it's true, and the second one, what's your take on it? So the first one is, recently I was told, as a lady, when bathing, you shouldn't wash your panties in the bathroom or bathhouse. How true is that? Because it breeds a lot of bacteria and stuff like that. And the second one,
where else are you going to wash it?
And the second one is,
okay,
let me finish the first one.
Okay,
yes, let me tackle the first one. You washing your undies in the washroom, and they said might breed whatever.
Before you take
it. You know, when you're bathing yourself, the bacteria on your body.
You are washing it out, and you are washing with water and soap and detergents and all that. So this, probably the philosophy behind this, you wouldn't get enough time. You might be in haste, to bathe early, to go to wherever you are going to. So in order to get the adequate time to wash your undies very well, especially the most important places over there that you are supposed to wash, I believe you know what I'm talking about.
I don't. So this one, I think right now at this point, I can apply to be a personal assistant, because your question is like, I'm helping you answer, you see. So maybe after this we'll talk on the side, give me a job.
So you probably, the time that you need to wash it very well is what's actually emanated to what they are trying to bring up or claim, but not that some kind of virus or whatever bacteria will erupt.
But these are people to their some way.
That doesn't happen.
Ladies and their problems.
So you can just put them down, have them together to be part of the clothes that you are planning to wash, so that you can get enough time to wash it very well. You keep it in your bin. We have bins for keeping that, and you have places you keep that. We have clothes we keep. But it will be very good whenever you are washing, just wash well, that's all.
Yeah.
That is the case. Are you getting it? Wash and wash well. Each time you want to wash, that's all. Yeah.
Wait. So now, if you have to ask Doc a question, pass it to me first before I pass it to
I'll
Doc.
not do that.
Let me
directly to him.
Probably she's opportune them here, so.
Okay, the second one is, as ladies, we are told when we menstruate, the used pad, excuse me guys, the used pad. I'm talking about the 2 of them though.
Oh, okay.
Maybe they are not too cool. When you menstruate, you're told to burn the pads. What do you think of talking about the burning aspect in your intro? How does that relate? Like, what should we do if we can't burn? We are also told not to flash because it will choke the flow of water and stuff.
Okay, its disposal should be very simple. Get it in a tighter thing, well wrapped, and then you dispose it off along with your other refuse. Are you getting my point? Or other people know how to bury it somehow, but to burn it into the system, that is unhealthful. It causes air pollution and a lot. And they even have a kind of philosophy behind burning your blood. That is somehow, it seems weird to our old folk. Are you getting my point? So the best thing you can do is package it very well, nicely. After use, you package it very well, well wrapped, and then well covered, well protected, and then along with your refuse, you dispose them off. Are you okay? But burning it, I don't think is the best. Yes.
All right. Thank you so much. We are very grateful. I would like to thank Dr. Maurice Mensah, naturopathic doctor. He's a specialist in he's a dietitian. I'd like to thank him so much. I'd like to also thank Pastor Nana Nimako for having time to speak to us, our panelists, our co-host. And may I thank myself.
Yes.
and then thank the viewers for spending time with us. That's been a great show. I'm sure I've learned a lot from Sister +1 to the Sabbath and now our health habits. And I'm sure we'll try and reform our lives to be better people. Thank you so much. And from us, our message to you is bye-bye, stay home, stay safe.
Hope Channel, changing lives.
This is Adventist World Radio Ghana, Voice of Hope.
AWR Ghana, Voice of Hope. Voice of Hope.
Dear friend, today's program was made with you in mind. We have for you the heart of the church, pillow talk, good music, and present truth. Please stay with us. It's time for that segment, the heart of the church.
Hello friend, welcome to a maiden Bible game called The Parables and Miracles of Jesus Christ. This game helps bring families and friends together, teachers and also students together to help study the Bible in a fun way. We are here to have fun and play this game. As you can see, I am your game master, Apia Manajon, and I'm here with two players who are
Nkrumah Benewa Christabel
and
Ajiman Albert.
Okay, the game is contained in this box, and in the box we have the articles of the game. We have first the reference sheet. We also have a play manual, a Bible game play manual. We have our miracle board on which there are six numbered circles which contains icons. We have our 2-minute time glass and our cards. I'll start off by shuffling the cards and giving each player a maximum of 3 cards. But if you're at home and you're playing this game, you can give your players about 7 cards if you wish to. So before we start, I'll start spelling out the rules of the game. And we have on our reference miracle board the 6 numbered circles and they contain icons. So if you mislead your player, you lose 20 points. And also if you get the summation of the numbers of the circles also wrong, you lose 20 points as well. And please, if you get your narration also wrong, you lose 20 points. And when you get that right, you are rewarded with 50 points. And also if you aren't able to give out the right narration, it goes to the next player as a bonus. And the next player takes this. If the next player takes this and answers correctly, that person is awarded with 20 points. Best wishes to all of you. Take your cards. And please, who is winning?
Christabel. Well, I'm winning.
You're winning.
I'm definitely winning.
Christabel is winning.
So who's starting? Christabel, I think it's you.
I'm starting.
Okay. So let's start.
Christabel.
Okay, so Christabel, have you picked your card?
Yes, I have.
Okay, so is the icon in circle 1?
Yes, it is.
Okay, what about circle 2?
No.
Okay, let's go to circle 4.
It's not in circle 4.
Okay, what about circle 8?
It's not.
Okay, let's come to circle 16.
No, it's not.
What about circle 32?
Yes, it is.
So your icon was in circle 1 and circle 32.
Yeah.
So when you sum it, you get 33.
33?
Yes.
And 33 on the reference sheets we have. Sorry? 33 on the reference sheet. We have the hidden treasure or the pearl of Gates,